Could mere commission or omission of an act amount to an offense? Let us find it out in today's lecture, wherein we'll be discussing the exceptions to the doctrine of mens rea. First, the answer to last week's problem to ponder. No, A cannot plead innocence by stating that he did not intend B's death. Here, A was driving in a rash and reckless manner, as the facts say. And so, he has either the knowledge or he has a reason to believe that it would end up in somebody's death. So, the act of causing death has been done voluntarily. You have to refer to section 39 there, wherein voluntarily has been defined. If you have not seen my previous lecture, please refer to the previous lecture defining what voluntarily, fraudulently, reason to believe, etc. have been stated. So, getting on to today's lecture, exceptions to the doctrine of mens rea. So, we all know by now that both actus reus and mens rea are required for ascertaining criminal liability. That means the general rule is that the physical act must be there along with the blameworthy mental condition in order to make a person criminally liable, in order to charge a person criminally liable. So this is the general principle of criminal liability. But are there exceptions for this general rule? Yes. Now what do you mean by exceptions to the doctrine of mens rea? It merely means mere actus reus would amount to a crime. If the mens rea part is taken out, if the mens rea part is deleted from this equation of actus reus plus mens rea equals crime, it would amount to actus reus equals crime. That means mens rea is not there. That means mens rea is exempt, which means the mere commission or omission of the act would be punishable in law as it would in itself be a crime. Such crimes where mens rea is not an essential requirement for the constitution of a crime are termed as crimes of strict liability. Now, the significance of such crimes of strict liability are there need not be a proof of mens rea. Mens rea need not be proved at all. Instead, the prosecution has to just prove that the accused has committed the act. As simple as that. Just actus reus is to be proved and mens rea is not to be taken care of at all. Now, how do we know that whether a particular crime is of strict liability or not? You have to check it in the relevant statute. The statute suggests whether it is a crime of strict liability or not. Offences created by statute can be divided into two categories at the standpoint of mens rea. Offences wherein mens rea is an essential element and offences wherein mens rea is not an essential element. In the first category of offences, actus reus must be accompanied with mens rea in order to constitute a crime, whereas in the second category, mens rea is not at all a requirement and hence such crimes being the crimes of strict liability. Such offences created by statute creates strict liability offences. I hope it is clear to you now. In such instances, the statute clearly rules out mens rea. Thus, the mere commission or omission of the act would be made punishable by the statute. As a fact, these statutes are not meant to punish the vicious, but to enforce regulations. It is in fact to put pressure on the thoughtless, to force the careless people in the interest of public health and safety to abide by certain standards, certain procedures, certain regulations. We find it mostly in social and public welfare offences. For example, the Factories Act, the Contempt of Courts Act, the SC and ST Act, etc. But how are we to determine whether a statute creates strict liability or not? Yes, you have to check for the expressions indicating exclusion of the mens rea element. If you find such expressions indicating exclusion of mens rea, then Yes, the statute creates strict liability and you have to rule out the mens rea part from the statute. Another way to ascertain whether the statute creates strict liability is to check the object of the statute. What is the purpose of framing the legislation? What is the intention of the legislature by framing the legislation? If you find the answer to these questions and you feel that such strict liability will suppress the mischief caused, then yes, the statute creates strict liability and hence mens rea need not be present. Now let us look into this example. A was prosecuted for selling an obscene book under section 292 IPC. A pleaded that he had no knowledge of the contents of the book and hence did not have the necessary mens rea. Would the court accept the contention? The court in fact had rejected the contention. Unlike several other offences in the IPC, section 292 does not contain the word knowingly, which suggests the knowledge of obscenity is not an essential ingredient of section 292. Thus, the mens rea aspect is absent in section 292 IPC and hence the mere selling of obscene book would offense under section 292 IPC. Therefore, he could definitely be charged. Now on to this week's problem to ponder. The management of a factory was charged under the provisions of the Factories Act 1948 for not fencing the machinery therein. The management contended that they did not have any evil intent in doing so. Would the court accept the contention? Please post your answers in the comment box and also your feedback. Please do like and share my video. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe with the bell button on. Bye.